Cilantro soap. You've probably argued about cilantro before, maybe even at Taco Tuesday. Here's the twist. It may have nothing to do with your taste. For many people, a smell receptor gene called OR6A2 changes how cilantro is perceived. Instead of picking up bright citrus-like aromas, the brain zeroes in on aldehydes. Those same chemicals also appear in certain soaps. Suddenly, every bite feels like someone grated dish detergent over dinner. Weird? Completely real. Researchers found this reaction is strongly influenced by genetics, not stubbornness. Your brain may have decided cilantro was awful long before you ever tasted it. So that family debate isn't really about picky eaters. It's biology wearing a taco disguise. And the next genetic twist changed breakfast for millions. Lactase persistence. Drinking milk as an adult feels normal. Actually, for humans, it's unusual. Most mammals stop digesting milk after infancy because they stop producing enough lactase. Millions of Americans don't. They inherited lactase persistence, allowing the enzyme to keep working throughout adulthood. Why would evolution bother? Around 5,000 to 1,000 years ago, dairy farming spread across parts of Europe. Milk became dependable food, protein, calories, and even cleaner hydration during difficult seasons. People who could digest it had an advantage, so the trait spread through generations. That's why it's especially common among people with Northern European ancestry, but much less common across many Asian, Native American, and African populations. Those different histories explain today's global lactose intolerance patterns. Your grocery store dairy aisle quietly reflects thousands of years of evolution. Next comes another trait hiding in plain sight: odorless sweat. Ever skipped deodorant by accident? Some people barely notice. An inactive version of the ABCC11 gene can dramatically reduce typical underarm odor. The reason isn't magical cleanliness. Sweat glands simply release fewer of the compounds that skin bacteria normally break down into those familiar smells. Less fuel means less odor. Here's another surprise. The very same gene is also linked to dry earwax. One tiny genetic variation influences two completely different traits. That's rare. So while deodorant commercials make odor seem like everyone's battle, DNA sometimes changes the game before anyone even opens the stick. Genetics can quietly shape everyday life in ways most people never suspect. And taste gets even stranger. Supertasters? Know someone who hates broccoli? Maybe coffee too. They might not be dramatic. Scientists call some people supertasters because they have significantly more taste buds than average. Every flavor gets amplified. Bitterness feels harsher. Sweetness hits harder. Even spicy foods can seem more intense. Imagine turning your phone's volume all the way up and forgetting how to lower it. That's everyday eating for many supertasters. Foods other people barely notice suddenly become overwhelming. Researchers found this affects food choices, nutrition, and even which vegetables or drinks people avoid. So what looks like personality may actually start with biology. Your genes can't influence every bite before your preferences ever form. Speaking of genetics affecting daily life, hair color has an unexpected medical twist. Redhead pain. Red hair stands out instantly. Its biggest surprise isn't the color. Natural redheads make up only about 1 to 2% of the world's population, yet variations in the MC1R gene influence much more than appearance. Multiple studies found many redheads require different amounts of anesthesia during certain medical procedures, because genetics affects how the body processes some pain signals and anesthetics. Scientists are still investigating exactly why this happens. The mechanisms aren't fully understood yet. Even so, doctors recognize that genetics can matter when planning treatment. Something as visible as hair color may carry information that's medically important. A cosmetic trait suddenly becomes part of healthcare. And the next feature is even easier to spot: heterochromia. One blue eye. One brown eye looks almost fictional. It's called heterochromia, and it's usually harmless. The condition happens when genetic factors, developmental changes, or, less commonly, injury alters how much melanin ends up in one or both irises. Complete heterochromia gives each eye a different color. Sectoral heterochromia creates striking patches inside one iris. It's easy to associate it with celebrities or unusual animals, but doctors sometimes see it differently. An unexpected eye color pattern can occasionally serve as a clue that encourages further evaluation. Appearance doesn't always tell the whole story, yet sometimes it hints at one. The next mutation hides somewhere even smaller. Double eyelashes. Extra eyelashes sound amazing. Not always. A rare condition called distichiasis creates an additional row of eyelashes, often linked to mutations in the FOXC2 gene. Instead of growing where you'd expect, those lashes develop from glands that normally produce lubricating oils along the eyelid. Some people hardly notice them. Others blink through constant irritation because the lashes rub against the eye every single time. Here's the bigger surprise. FOXC2 mutations can also be associated with lymphedema distichiasis syndrome, connecting an unusual cosmetic feature with changes affecting the lymphatic system. One mutation influences multiple parts of the body at once. Genetics loves multitasking, and our final trait changes how reality itself may look. Tetrachromacy. Picture the perfect sunset. Now imagine you're missing millions of colors. A small number of people may have tetrachromacy, meaning they possess 4 functioning types of color-sensitive cone cells, instead of the usual 3. Scientists think some women inherit the necessary genetics because red and green color vision genes sit on the X chromosome. But genetics alone isn't enough. The brain also has to process the extra visual information. Laboratory studies suggest true tetrachromats can distinguish color differences that appear completely identical to everyone else. 2 healthy people can look at the same painting, traffic light, or autumn forest, while genuinely experiencing different versions of reality. That's a reminder that your DNA doesn't just shape your body. Sometimes, it quietly reshapes the world you see. Synesthesia. You've heard people say music has color. For a few people, that's literally true. A single piano note might instantly appear deep blue. The number 7 may always look green. Not sometimes. Every time. That's synesthesia. A neurological phenomenon where activating one sense automatically triggers another without conscious effort. Researchers estimate about 2 to 4% of people experience it. Brain imaging suggests unusually strong connections between sensory regions may help explain these crossovers. Here's the fascinating part. The pairings stay remarkably stable throughout life. A synesthete doesn't wake up, deciding Tuesdays are suddenly purple instead of orange. Many artists, musicians, and writers have credited synesthesia with influencing their creativity. Most, though, simply assume everyone experiences the world this way until told otherwise. It's neither a hallucination nor a disorder. Instead, it shows the brain can organize reality in more than one valid way. If perception can differ that much, wait until sleep breaks the rules. Short sleepers? Everyone wishes they needed less sleep. Most people can't cheat biology. Adults generally need about 7 to 9 hours each night to stay healthy. Yet a remarkably small group thrives on only 4 to 6 hours. No caffeine marathon, no constant yawning. Scientists call them natural short sleepers. Research links this rare ability to genetic variants including DXE2 and SIK3, which appear to influence how the brain manages sleep and recovery. Here's what separates them from someone bragging about surviving 4 hours. They wake refreshed. Their thinking stays sharp. They don't build up the sleep debt most people collect after repeated late nights. Researchers studying these families hope these discoveries eventually improve treatments for sleep disorders, while revealing why sleep remains essential for nearly everyone else. So those productivity influencers promising anyone can train away sleep? Motivation has limits. Genetics usually gets the final vote. Evolution's next compromise is even stranger. Malaria resistance. One mutation changed history. It also came with a painful cost. People carrying one altered copy of the HBB gene usually live healthy lives. They also gain significant protection against severe malaria because the parasite struggles to reproduce normally inside their red blood cells. In places where malaria killed countless people, especially across parts of sub-Saharan Africa, that advantage mattered enormously. Over thousands of years, natural selection spread the trait through those regions. Sounds like the perfect mutation. Not quite. Inheriting two altered copies causes sickle cell disease, a serious condition that can lead to painful episodes, anemia, and organ damage. Scientists consider this one of evolution's clearest trade-offs. Evolution doesn't chase perfection. It favors survival. A mutation that seems harmful persisted because, under the right conditions, it dramatically improved the odds of surviving one of humanity's deadliest infectious diseases. The next mutation almost feels superhuman. Unbreakable bones. Breaking a bone hurts. Some people almost seem built differently. Rare mutations in the LRP5 gene can produce dramatically denser, stronger bones than average. Researchers first noticed certain families surviving serious falls and accidents with little or no broken bones, while others suffered major fractures. That grabbed attention immediately. LRP5 helps regulate the YONT signaling pathway, controlling how much new bone tissue the body builds throughout life. More activity can mean exceptionally high bone density. Sounds like a superhero upgrade. Except extremely dense bones aren't automatically perfect. Depending on the specific mutation, unusual bone growth can sometimes create complications. Even so, these families changed medicine. Studying them inspired researchers developing osteoporosis treatments that stimulate similar biological pathways, strengthening fragile bones in millions of aging patients. One incredibly rare mutation is now helping far more people than those who inherited it. Next comes muscles that ignore ordinary limits. Super strength. Imagine gaining muscle unusually easily. No secret workout required. Rare mutations affecting the MSTN gene, better known as the myostatin gene, make that possible for a handful of people worldwide. Myostatin normally acts like the body's built-in brake, preventing muscles from growing excessively large. Remove part of that brake, and muscle fibers become bigger and stronger from an early age, even without unusual training. Scientists first uncovered myostatin's importance while studying heavily muscled cattle breeds before identifying similar mutations in humans. A few documented individuals showed remarkable strength and lean muscle during childhood, attracting worldwide attention. Naturally, sports researchers and pharmaceutical companies became interested, hoping to develop treatments for muscular dystrophy and age-related muscle loss. But stronger muscles don't automatically create healthier bodies. Tendons, joints, and the cardiovascular system may not keep pace. Biology loves balance, and the next mutation blocks a deadly virus instead of building bigger muscles. HIV. Some viruses seem unstoppable. One tiny mutation changes the story. A small percentage of people carrying two copies of the CCR5 delta 32 mutation are highly resistant to the most common strains of HIV. Normally, the virus enters white blood cells through the CCR5 receptor, almost like using a doorway. The mutation changes or removes that doorway, making infection extremely difficult. Scientists recognized this natural protection during the 1990s, after studying individuals who remained HIV negative despite repeated exposure. That discovery reshaped HIV research. It inspired antiviral drugs designed to block the CCR5 receptor. Later, stem cell transplants from donors carrying the mutation helped the Berlin patient and then the London patient achieve long-term HIV remission. The procedure is far too risky for routine treatment, but it proved eliminating functional CCR5 receptors could dramatically alter disease progression. Researchers now explore gene editing approaches, like CRISPR, hoping to recreate that protection safely. The next ability remembers almost everything. Hyperthymesia. Forget where you parked yesterday. Some people remember decades ago instead. Highly superior autobiographical memory, called hyperthymesia, allows an extremely small number of people to recall astonishing personal life events with remarkable accuracy. Ask about a random date years earlier, and they may instantly remember the weather, their clothes, conversations, and emotions from that day. First documented in the early 2000s, the condition doesn't automatically improve intelligence, math skills, or memory for random facts. Brain imaging suggests differences in regions involved with autobiographical memory and emotional processing. Though researchers continue investigating exactly how these memories form, Jill Price became one of the best-known cases, amazing neuroscientists and transforming memory research. Yet perfect recall carries a cost. Painful experiences return just as vividly years later. Forgetting, it turns out, helps people heal. And the rarest genetic trait of all hides inside blood. Golden blood. Blood looks ordinary. This blood changes medicine. Rosh-null, often called golden blood, is the rarest blood type ever identified. First discovered in 1961, it lacks every known antigen from the Rh blood group system. Fewer than 50 people have ever been identified, and only a small number regularly donate. Every donation can become life-saving for another Rh-null patient. The rarity creates constant challenges. People with Rh-null often keep detailed emergency records, work closely with specialized medical teams, and may even store frozen blood, because finding a compatible donor quickly can be nearly impossible. While their blood often helps patients with other rare Rh blood types, they themselves usually can receive blood only from another Rh-null donor. Research on these individuals transformed scientists' understanding of Rh proteins, revealing how they support red blood cell structure while improving blood matching worldwide. Despite the nickname, golden blood looks completely ordinary. Its value comes from extraordinary genetic rarity and the life-saving opportunities carried inside one seemingly ordinary drop.